Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Positively Awesome Wrestling Show. We are one day late, and that is my bad. I apologize, but what matters the most is that we are here. And as Courtney has just pointed out, finally, yes, 24 hours later, we finally got the production ongoing, and here we are. I thank you all for jumping back in, though. I've much appreciated the support. That's like top of the line support. And I really do appreciate it. Harry says, hey, yo, got the car cam back. That's right. The gimmick has returned. But
told you it was going to happen.
Small talk. Albert, how the heck have you been? And how have you been enjoying your wrestling this week?
Wrestling has been great. Me, it's a different story. But wrestling has been fun. Very, very, very fun main event that we got with Julia and Roxanne versus Rhea and Io. Really, really strong main event on Raw. Really enjoyed it. I even briefly watched a little bit of AEW and caught up, just to see what the whole situation going on with MJF was. That whole Hurt business is pretty fun. I love that they've interjected MJF into that. So wrestling's been good, man.
That's good. So you brought up AEW, so I'll just touch on it real quick. I watched it this morning. I can't thank HBO Max enough for having it available to stream whenever I can watch it. It just makes it easier for me to watch it at this point. And just a real quick touch on it. Anybody that hasn't been watching AEW, I get it. Like I've had a hard time recently too, but I will say this: Ricochet has been amazing.
I agree.
And I agree. It's kind of wild to think that AEW is known as the one that doesn't tell the stories or do the characters as well as WWE, in the perception of a lot of people, me being one of them. But Ricochet left that to go to a company where that isn't really the focal point, and he's killing it in those points. Like his character it's great. Like his promos have been like, they're not mind-blowing, but they're really good. And he can obviously go with literally anybody in that company. I don't think it's crazy to think that he could be a future AEW world champion. And I just wanted to kind of give that a shout out real quick, because I think
I agree.
Amazing work in AEW. It's mind-boggling to me that that's the same guy that WWE couldn't find something for. Like that's crazy to me. So,
well, I mean, I feel like WWE really knew what they had in Ricochet in a lot of ways. You just didn't want to know how, they didn't know how to capitalize on it, because they mutually parted ways. I think that I think they probably wanted to re-sign Ricochet, and I just think that Ricochet's contract ended, and he was like, "All right, I can go to AEW, and I can do exactly what I'm doing, but I can do it for a more appreciative audience, and for a boss who appreciates my in-ring skills more than the current regime," which is totally understandable for somebody like Ricochet. I mean, I think that there's a lot of times where we talked about early on in the early WWE days, if you can trade one guy from AEW to WWE and vice versa, who would it be? And a lot of the majority of people were like, man, Ricochet is a perfect fit for AEW.
So I went back,
and he has been.
Yeah, I went back before I got rid of my Twitter and kind of searched up Ricochet. It wasn't like right when I was quitting, but it was like right before then. And I searched Ricochet on my timeline, and I've been saying it since 2019. I was like, get Ricochet over to AEW. Just get him over there. Just get him over there. And it's like,
it makes sense.
He surpassed anything I thought he was going to be able to do. Harry says,
I agree.
I think Ospreay wins it before Ricochet. Oh, for sure.
I agree.
I think Ospreay should have it right now, if I'm being honest. But
I agree.
He definitely went before Ricochet, but I think it's crazy to think that Ricochet, that's his ceiling over there. I would have never thought that. I thought he'd be a better fit. I just never would have thought he'd be there. And I think he is. I think he's one of the more entertaining people on the entire roster. It's fantastic.
Yeah. In a land where, it's hard to stand out doing what Ricochet does best.
Yes. He's
reinvented himself to make himself stand out. And you can't not appreciate that. I mean, let's be real here. And you kind of missed some of this because you haven't been on Twitter, but he's getting WWE guys riled up to the point where
I saw the one thing because I got a good laugh.
Crazy.
That's gonna make the group chat.
Yes, and crazy, right?
Got a good laugh out of that one, but he's man. Props to him. He's
yeah.
Oh yeah, they did kind of not capitalize on me. So, but enough of that talk. We're here to talk about the second greatest luchador of all time, the most decorated luchador of all time. Yes, that's right. I am talking about the El Grande Americano, straight out of the Gulf of America. I don't care if they've changed it on WWE.com to appease people. We all know the first thing said Gulf of America. That is where he is from. And let's just pause the kayfabe here for a second. I'm just happy that Chad Gable has found something once again to entertain me, because I was super mad about what happened before. Back to kayfabe. El Grande Americano. We're just talking about Ricochet's ceiling. I want to know what you think the ceiling is for this character within the period of time that we're going to get him, because this isn't something that's going to last forever. But
I don't. I think this ends at SummerSlam.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that we're building to a Penta versus Gable Americano. Sorry, we're building to a Penta versus El Grande Americano mask versus mask match. I think that's what we're going towards. I think that we haven't seen El Grande Americano lose to Penta yet. We've seen Chad Gable lose to Penta on multiple occasions, but we've never seen El Grande Americano lose to Penta. I think that's where they're going. I think the idea is going to be that, they're going to, of course, they're going to try to push this, idea that somehow El Grande Americano and Chad Gable are the same person. I don't know what anyone's talking about, to be completely honest. But, and that'll lead to the mask versus mask thing. And I think that the ceiling for him is exactly what we're getting. It's going to be great in-ring work. It's going to be fun segments, but I think it's just here for a little while. And I think it's been fun, but I think, this hopefully gets Chad Gable back to a more serious, thing. But, the other thing is this. I say that it ends in August. What happens to the Speed Championship if El Grande Americano unmasks? Does Chad Gable, still defend it, or whoever's under the mask? I guess he still defends it, right? So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. So I just looked this up. So you think it ends with him and Penta? So you think they're just going to drop the Rey Mysterio thing completely?
Yeah, I think that with Mysterio being out and everything like that, I think they're just like, okay, we'll substitute Penta in. We'll let Penta take the mask off him, and that'll be the end of it.
Okay, so comments real quick. Courtney is talking nonsense. She says Grande Americano is Chad Gable. He's not. He's not. What are you talking about? Chad Gable's from Minnesota, and El Grande is not. What?
Right.
No,
he's from the Gulf of America.
You've been listening to too much Michael Cole. I see El Grande, and man, I'll tell you what. Forget that match. I want to see El Grande in Money in the Bank.
Same.
I want to see it.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah. Because let's not kid ourselves here. He's one of the most over acts in the company.
Correct me if I'm wrong. El Grande Americano is undefeated right now, is he not?
I believe so.
So why wouldn't he be able to qualify for that Money in the Bank spot? I would 100% be right.
And I mean, realistically, can you name 5 people better than him in the ring? I mean, Gunther, Chad Gable, maybe
that's it. Maybe.
I think he should be in Money in the Bank. I just looked
at
Mysterio's injury, and apparently it's a abductor tear, and they say the timetable for recovery is 12 to 16 weeks. He had that surgery on April 28th. So
I thought it was. Oh, okay. I thought it was right before WrestleMania.
No, he got injured, but he didn't have the surgery until April 28th. So
he's going to be out for quite a while. That's 3 months, right?
That's 3 to 4 months. So let's see, May, June, July. He could be back for SummerSlam, technically.
He could.
Whether he is or not, I don't know.
You're right.
I mean, older people tend to heal a little bit slower, and deadbeats shouldn't heal fast. So I guess at SummerSlam would be pushing it.
And you know what? He could be there. Maybe he doesn't compete, but he could be there. Maybe in Penta's corner. Maybe that's how they get around it.
He could be the help to Penta needs to actually beat El Grande. Because how do you beat someone who's been on top of their game for as long as El Grande has? You can't do it on your own. So
head of steel, man.
I don't care if you have Cero Miedo. El Grande has mucho experience. Partner. You
can't tell me that you don't fear anything when you know that headbutt that El Grande Americano is capable of is coming at you. I'd be scared, man. The guy's got a head made of lead.
Yeah, that thing's crazy hard. Like
unbelievable.
It's knocking people out.
I know it's harder head than a Samoan. It doesn't happen in pro wrestling.
Yeah, imagine. Oh man, him and Jacob Fatu just clashing, headbutting like bowling. That'd be crazy. Harry says, I see Lucha Brothers, Ray, or Dragon Lee versus El Grande and the Creed Brothers. So the Lucha Brothers and Dragon Lee is a possibility. I don't know where Free Phoenix fits into things at this point, though. They're featuring him every week, it seems like, but it just doesn't seem like there's direction for him. It feels like they're just throwing him out there because they want him to be on the television show. So
to me, it looks like they're building to bring Penta over to SmackDown because I feel like they've got Legado del Fantasma, 3 men in there, and I know that we just had Humberto kind of distance himself from them, but by that same point, we have Andrade and Phoenix without a third member, and I think that once Legado gets back onto their feet, they're going to need somebody to fill in. That might be where we see Penta.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's hard. I guess I don't like the idea of them just pairing all of them together. I guess it's like
me either. But
we don't need.
But I do.
If there was a cruiserweight division, different story. Okay, put them all together and let them work magic and be crazy. That's awesome. I'm all for it. But if we're just doing it for storyline purposes, like, nah, let's get a little bit more creative here. Let's not just go back to the old well that we've been getting our water from for the past 30 years.
So I'm okay with it if it's just the introduction of Penta onto the SmackDown roster, and then he and Phoenix are going to be featured as a tag team going forward. But they're not going to be paired with Andrade forever, and they're not even going to feud with Legado for that long. It's just the fact of them, that's his introduction. They become a tag team, and my God, imagine the Lucha Brothers, how they elevate that. I mean, an already elevated SmackDown tag team division. Oof.
That's where they should be. And then the Raw tag division should just cease to exist, and they should just move the tag teams to SmackDown. This is what I've been saying
at this point. At this point,
one tag title and move them all on one show. And like, hey, sorry if you like. Hey, it makes you need to watch that show if you really love tag team wrestling. And then that way you could feature more things that don't get the shine they normally get on the other show. With this case would be Raw, to get like more featured people like that. That's the thing. But we're going away here. Harry says
maybe more women's matches.
Yeah. He meant to say El Grande and Penta in the Money in the Bank. Yes, for sure. Put them in it. Put Ray Phoenix in it too. Let that be where they come together for the first time.
I like that.
I'm solved. AJ Styles. Nope. I don't know if he's gonna be there at that time, man. Nick is in the chat. What up, Nick? He says, hello, boys. El Grande should destroy every luchador on the roster till he reaches the deadbeat. Then Dom should save Ray from an El Grande beatdown, turning Dom super face. Nuh-uh, pal. Let me tell you something. When Dom gave Chad Gable the mystery paper to say, hey, contact this person to learn the masters of the dark arts of luchador or whatever it was that he was trying to give him, it was clear that it was El Grande Americano that he was giving him the information of. So why would he attack the guy that he already is in cahoots with? Nah, son. I do think that El Grande should just be destroying them all. That's just funny to me. It's good. It's a good storyline, and it's getting heat. It's entertaining. Like, it's everything
Look,
you want for.
They just bought AAA. Imagine him over there.
Oh, God. El Grande. We talked about this briefly last week. El Grande Americano and AAA winning their top title and running amok for months. Hey, you want to know what's going to get me to tune into AAA regularly? That
El Grande Americano.
That'd be fantastic.
Amazing. Look, I will say this. I think that this is one of the most well-crafted gimmicks that WWE's done in a very long time. I think that it's so well done, that it's so unaware, that it's so funny. Yeah. Naming himself after a Starbucks drink, using AI to make up a backstory for the character, like all these little things that they've peppered in about this character, the Gulf of America. Like they want you to understand that this is a divisive character that you're supposed to dislike. And that's the reason why I get upset when people are like, oh, you can't say that to get heat. No. Look, I can understand that there are certain lines you don't cross in order to get heat. Look, I am completely against using, racial storylines or sexual orientation to try to draw heat against people. That's ridiculous. That's low-hanging fruit anyway. There's no reason to go there. But for something like this is so much fun because it's such a nothing nonsense thing that people make a big deal out of. And I love when they capitalize on nothing nonsense things that people make a big deal out of. It's smart. The character is great. The execution is flawless. And they've given El Grande Americano the push that you would expect to see from somebody with this character. I mean, it's been done to perfection. I just don't know how you get any better than what they've done with this. And I don't understand how people can complain about something this good.
Okay. So I remember this. This is not like a new thing here. I don't know why now it seems to be a problem, but it's not a new thing. So let's run back some of these people. Remember Otis? He pretended to be a luchador at one point. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Kurt Angle, he donned the Conquistador outfit.
Yes, he did.
He was pretending to be a luchador. Nobody cared. The Miz did it. Nobody cared.
The Calgary Kid.
Edge and Christian did it. Nobody cared. At the time when Punk did it on Collision, nobody cared. Like, what was this? This is a new one. I didn't even know this one. There was a luchador in the women's division that appeared regularly, and it was Becky Lynch, Deonna Purrazzo, Alexa Bliss, and Mickie James all did the luchador thing. Nobody cared.
There's been countless numbers.
I want to say Chris Jericho did it back in the day on WCW. I might be mistaken.
I don't think you're wrong.
Diamond Dallas Page did it with La Parka when he was feuding with Macho Man. Nobody cared.
I do remember at a point, was it Mickie James?
That's what I think. I think it was just the four, but she was the one that came off, but there was 4 girls total that were donning the whole thing. It was like a who is it type thing. And again, nobody cared. I think the only reason this one in particular got any kind of steam was because of the time period that it's happening in and the state of the world we live in. But as I've always said, professional wrestling is supposed to be an escape from that world. And we're supposed to just be like, this is entertainment to make me feel better, not how can I make this about reality and blah, blah. Like, stop it. And not just me talking here. How many people have been like clamoring and wanting Chad Gable to get something, just something.
Right.
He's got something and it's working.
He's got something to sink his teeth into.
Yeah. Bryan Danielson. It never became official, but there was that one luchador that wrestled in AEW once or twice. He was in that black getup. And everyone thought it was the coolest thing in the world that Bryan Danielson was doing that. Why is it different? It's selective. What is that word? It's selective outrage because of just, again, you can't separate reality from entertainment, and entertainment is here to entertain, not for you to get mad at.
Exactly.
Wow. Lou's in the chat. He says, my boy Al and some guy I don't even like. That's what's up, boys. I'm going to remember that next time it's my turn to draft. I'm going to take all 4 hours, Lou, because I know how much that drives you crazy. Yes, Nick. He says El Grande should win the AAA Mega Championship. That's what I said. He should. And he should literally run amok on that whole organization and then end it by putting over Vikingo.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
And they've already planted seeds for it.
It gives, and you could have that match on a WWE pay-per-view, and you give the WWE's audience a glance into what Vikingo can do, because they probably have never seen, like a lot of them have probably never seen him before, against a guy who can go with him in the ring, and it's a great idea. Oh, you like this guy? Well, he's over in AAA, so if you like him, you can go check him out. He's the champion, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's how you kind of make that transition into that. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but that seems to be like the smartest thing to try. Jericho dressed up as Penta. Nobody cared. Billy Malenko, that's right. He did the pumpkin dude. I can't remember his name. Damien. That's right. Nobody cared. We all love D Malenko. So
absolutely,
yeah, I agree with you on the SummerSlam. Oh, go ahead.
There's been countless numbers of people who have done this, and there's no reason for anybody to be offended by by somebody trying to do something that draws great heat. And that's what the point is. And that's the thing. You know, a lot of people got on Bully Ray on Twitter. A lot of people talk about how everything he talks about is just he. And to be completely honest, I get it, because that's what wrestling's about. It's about getting heat.
And how hard is it? It's hard to get heat these days.
It's much harder than it used to be.
Like, if you can get it, dude, props. Man, I wish I could go into the minds of the people who are of that my thought process to kind of grasp what it is they're seeing that maybe I'm not seeing. I don't know, but
the thing is that this gets done in other mediums. This isn't just a pro wrestling thing. This gets done in television shows, movies, and no one seems to have an issue when it's done there. But when it happens in pro wrestling, apparently the white knights have to come out and like, we're going to, we can't have this. And it's like, why can't we do it in pro wrestling? We can do it everywhere else, but we're not allowed to do it here. You want them to be ahead of the times, and you want them to be with the times. And then they do stuff like, which, look, I'm not exactly happy that.
They want them to use real life things in storylines, and then they're like, wait, no, wait a second.
Right. And look, WWE has always been like slightly behind the 8 ball when it comes to pop culture. But I mean, they just had Travis Scott, who's like the most over artist in the history of the world right now at WrestleMania. As much as I hate the fact of how it happened, it's like every time the WWE does something that fans want, they then just move the goalpost in order to be, okay, great, you did that, but you didn't do this, and this wasn't good, and this isn't like they've been doing really good when it comes to like getting very noteworthy celebrities. I mean, Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, now Travis Scott. These are huge names. I mean, they just had Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton, who are both in the NBA playoffs right now against each other. Were had that moment against each other on SmackDown a year ago? Like, it's almost like this was meant to be. Yes,
it wasn't even a year ago. I don't think. I think it was around December.
Yeah, you might be right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, this is so current.
I want to say it was a Madison Square Garden show, but
I think you're right.
It wasn't like December that this happened, and that's crazy to think. Like, what? Nick says the whole point of wrestling is to get heat one way or other. Dom had to turn his back on a deadbeat to get the most heat that we've seen in years. And it's crazy to think that this guy had to turn on a deadbeat for people to be like, yeah. And why is he the bad guy? I don't get that. Never made any sense to me.
I don't know why people are booing him. He just did the right thing.
Yeah. They should be. They're cheering him now, but they should have been cheering him since day one. So you said SummerSlam with Penta, and I guess I agree with that at this point. Because they had to obviously pivot away from Ray. 3 to 4 months is kind of a long time for an injury, so you can't just. We saw AEW do that with Adam Cole and MJF, where they kind of just held off, and it killed that whole storyline, unfortunately. So I think it would be a mistake for them to do that. SummerSlam is a good one. And man, what a great spot for Penta on his first SummerSlam.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Chad Gable gets another like high kayfabe off. Chad Gable gets another high key match, a marquee match on like one of the big fours. Like that's awesome.
Right.
Why would I be upset about that as a Chad Gable fan?
Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's kayfabe back on. I wish there was a way for El Grande to turn that Speed Championship into a cruiserweight one, though. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like now more than ever, I want a cruiserweight division back. And if we're putting all the tag teams on one show, make the cruiserweight division on the other show. Oh,
right.
Sold.
Which is what they did. They did do that when they brought the cruiserweight title back. They put it on Raw, which is where it would go now if they do push all the tag teams onto SmackDown. They can put, the cruiserweights on Raw and go back to that old WCW formula of, all right, instead of opening the show with a 20-minute John Cena promo, let's open up with like 6 guys from AAA just flying all over the place for 20 minutes.
Like, this is one of the things, like, AEW kind of moved away from it for a little bit and they brought it back. Starting off with a high, like, offense match is very, like, it gets me invested. It's a
right.
way to get me invested. I don't want to see it every single week, but when you literally show starts and I get a match where things are just like balls to the wall, okay, you've got me. I mean, as long as
you said it's home.
Yes. So, man, that would be so good. I wish there was a way that they're not going to do it, but I wish they would.
No, because Twitter pays them too much for that.
Nick says right here, nobody in England over 20 years old knows who Travis Scott is. Here's the thing, Nick. I know other people in England, and they know who he is, and they're all over 20. I know you don't know who he is. I don't know how big into music you are. But he just debuted at #1 in the Billboard, didn't he? Like 2 weeks ago? Like, that's a big deal today.
He's huge.
So,
he's huge.
Yeah, he's a big deal. I wouldn't say he's on the Taylor Swift level, but when it comes to rap artists, I think he's the biggest in the world today. Yeah.
I think he's got if he's not the #1 rapper in the world, he's top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like,
so I get you don't know who he is, but he is a big deal. And isn't he
Nick, to be honest,
too?
I think you're right. But to be honest, look, I'll defend you in a way. I don't I know some of his music. That's not my genre of music, so I don't really listen to it. But by that same point, there was a point where I said the same thing about Bad Bunny. No one knows who this guy is. And I remember my fiance was sitting next to me watching the Royal Rumble where Bad Bunny debuted. And he did like that little musical thing. And we were all like talking over it. And she was all into it because she knew who he was. And she's like, this guy's the #1 selling Latin artist in the world right now. Like, you guys are going to sit here and you're going to make fun of this. But the honest to God's truth is that this guy's huge. Yeah. And I was like, get out of here. No one knows who this guy is. And the next day, I'm just sitting there, like, just seeing tweets all about, and like people who I like, are like, oh my God, you're a wrestling fan, right? Bad Bunny was there last night. I was like, holy crap. Okay. This guy really is big.
Yeah.
Travis Scott is on that list.
Yeah. There you go. He was. And then I found out and I'm like, oh, okay. This guy is a big deal. And just for pop, like, I genuinely don't give a crap about what I'm about to say, but it is a big deal for pop culture. He is like with one of the Jenners, the Kardashian family, and the Kardashian family is like huge in pop culture. So there's going to be those people, maybe your girlfriends, if you ever get any, that know the Kardashians. And like, oh, I know Travis Scott. Oh, babe, this is cool. Like, that's the kind of stuff that maybe they're.
Wait, he's fighting?
No. Yes.
Right. So, wait, he's fighting? Oh, wow. Cool. I want to see that.
So, Big Papa Pump's on his way to join the show. How about that? That's awesome. Let's see. Nick, he says acquisition of AAA gives WWE the unique opportunity. Yeah, for sure. Like, it does. How far they take it, I don't know. I'm curious, but I would like them to incorporate El Grande into it. Like, they'd be stupid not to.
It's interesting to me.
They bought AAA for El Grande Americano. That's in kayfabe as far as I'm concerned at this point. They
I
had
agree.
to give him competition that was up to his caliber in the ring because nobody in WWE can do it. The only one that would be able to is Chad Gable, and they're best friends, so you can't do that.
Right.
And man, it just would make such a great storyline. Oh my goodness. Lou, I know you think he's cheeks, and that's fine, but you know who he is, and you know he's a big deal to like he sells records. Like that's the
Right.
whole
Like,
thing getting at.
I don't like Drake, but I know he's popular.
Yeah, I don't get Lou started on Drake. She said, man, she still doesn't know who he is. My son knows who he is because of Fortnite. He was the first musical artist that had the concert series on Fortnite. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like Sicko Mode. That's the only song I know, but whatever. So yeah, El Grande, we both say SummerSlam. I think Penta is the go-to on that. I think that's a great one. Every party involved comes out looking better on top here.
Yes.
Harry says, okay, kayfabe off for a second. Let's say El Grande is about to lose the speed title, but then rolls under the ring. Gable appears, gets pinned. Gable, you beat me, not El Grande. So
interesting.
I think a way to take the belt from El Grande to Chad Gable would be to have like maybe Julius dress up as El Grande under the ring, or maybe he dresses up for him in a match on speed, and then he faces Chad Gable, and then Chad Gable just rolls him up and bins him, and then he goes back to being El Grande and Chad Gable again, and then like wait a second, wait, but nobody knows. You can't tell me that wasn't El Grande because nobody knows what the guy looks like. He's been mysterious for like what 90 years at this point. It's crazy.
Something like that. Yeah, it's nuts. So he still has that much youthful exuberance.
So there's no way we see El Grande. No, he can't win the Intercontinental title because Dom's never losing it. Man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I would love to see El Grande with like a major title, the United States title. Oh my goodness.
Well, Jacob Fatu's not losing that though.
That doesn't work either, man. That's the downside of my two favorite wrestlers in the world right now being champion. This never happens for me. They're not going to lose. Man, that would have been funny though. El Grande Americano as the United States.
It's tailor made.
Oh,
it's made for it. Like,
my goodness.
Yeah, I hope that at some point, Gable can dust this character back off at some point, just to just for fun, you know.
Maybe it's just something after he gets unmasked, like he just shows up in AAA afterwards and just acts like it didn't happen.
It never happened, yeah.
Because I've been saying since Dom handed him the paper, I thought AAA would have a play into the Chad Gable dominant thing. I didn't know they were going to buy AAA and all that, but I don't think
anyone knew that.
I really thought that was going to play into it in some way. So I'm going to sink my teeth in that and really hold on tight until it does happen. Whether that takes 10, 15, 20 years, I don't know, but I'm going to stick with it until it happens. Just so I can say I was right.
I just want to throw this out there because I do want to say this. I think there are a lot of people that are talking about what the perception of AAA is going to be now that WWE owns them. I do think that it is very telling that they're not pairing them with the main roster competition. They're immediately pairing them with NXT. I don't know if that's more of a stylistic choice because NXT is a little bit more faster paced. And it's a little bit more youthful. And I feel like that maybe their roster lends itself better to the AAA experience. But I do have to say that to me, it's a little telling that these guys, I mean, Vikingo, yes, was on WrestleMania. But other than that, it's been, their first event is a crossover between NXT and AAA. It's just a little surprising to me.
I'll say, because I don't really know how. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. I've seen like one or two of the shows. They don't really have any like major names. So I'm glad they're not doing it with the main roster because I feel like it would just be one of those invasion scenarios where they just squash them. At least in NXT, I have a hope that that's not going to be the case. And what I would like to point out is I remember people complained about the Performance Center being like they're just preaching them one way to wrestle and then they're just blah, 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 whatever. Okay, well, now they're going to be wrestling. Like they've sent some of the people over to Japan to learn that style. And now they bought AAA and they're going to have them wrestling those guys to learn a new style. So all of a sudden, they're not molding them to make this factory of one specific wrestler. They're getting experience all over the world, which is what kind of people were wanting them to do to begin with. So I would hope that
Some
this
people.
is like I would. Well, they're dumb because they're being hypocrites at that point because this is what everyone wanted for NXT. Like because they were so worried that it was going to be one brand and style of wrestler coming out of the Performance Center. That's not the case at this point.
But you know how look we spoke about this before. When wrestling fans get what they want, they immediately move the goalposts, and the goalpost movement. Excuse me, for this particular situation. They have no idea. But for this particular situation, which by the way is very funny because it's really the phrase is moving the goalposts, which is a football reference, and a lot of people use a soccer net on as a meme for that, which means they don't know what they're talking about.
I mean, are there goalposts in soccer though?
I mean, I thought that it was just the goal
they're both football. I know that Twitter
world is whatever.
It's not predominantly, but there's a lot of that. European crowd where football
that's fair.
Is. So
I was just trying to speak to your point. So
yeah, they don't know what goalposts are.
Exactly.
Goalpost to them is an engagement tweet that they baited someone and it got a lot of interaction. That was a goal.
That's about right.
Bait people and get a good post.
But I think that at the end of the day, inevitably, the movement to that now is, oh, well, now if they're doing this, they're trying to take over every territory and they're just going to be a WWE factory everywhere. And we're not going to, and it's going to kill the independents. There's always something for them to get more upset about, which is why, if you notice, there in interviews that people do with Triple H says he doesn't take these fans seriously. And this is the reason why people will get upset when they hear things like that. But then they don't, when you dig deeper, it's because of these reasons. It's if you have a preconceived notion against somebody like Triple H or the WWE, your immediate reaction to everything that you see is going to be, I'm going to find the negative in this because I already know I don't like him. Prime example. There's a clip floating around the internet right now where, I think it's Steph's Places where she interviews the Undertaker. Stephanie's up in the rafters and she's got the Undertaker's wings on from that SummerSlam or Survivor Series match. He's got those big giant like leather wings, and Undertaker's calling out to Triple H like, "Yo, Triple H," and Triple H is down on the floor and he's like, "What are these fans doing in here?" And he's like, "Why are they in here? Can somebody get them out of here? Like, why is this happening?" And then finally somebody alerts him and goes, "Oh, that's Steph. Oh, okay." And Undertaker's up there with him. Oh, okay. Now, somebody online posted, now you can see once Triple H realized, before he realized it was Stephanie, this is what he thinks of the fan base. He thinks we're all scum. And it's like, dude, if that was a fan who's in the arena when they shouldn't be, and they're distracting him when he's down by the ring talking to all of his employees, that's a stupid thing for any person to do. If that was Tony Khan in that situation, you would say that fan should have been thrown out.
Yeah, I would hope he reacted the same way. So
exactly, but they don't. So that's the unfortunate reality of what we face as wrestling fans right now, and sometimes it makes it hard for us to do this show to be so positive because a lot of people like to be negative. I don't know how you could be negative about something so cool as El Grande Americano. I think that it's one of the best gimmicks that we've seen in a long time. I think it capitalizes on real life. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. And if your thing is that, well, he's doing things that we're not supposed to like, that's the point. He's getting booed. He's not. If you want to say that he was doing this and WWE was making him a babyface, then fine. I get what you're trying to say. I understand. And from that political point of view, I get it. But even the WWE, who, let's face it, is, as a company, is much more conservative than other companies, is even making the guy the heel. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. You would think that they were trying to make him the face, like the way that people were getting upset about it and stuff. And it's like, I would get that if that was I would be somewhat in agreement with you, but they're not. They're playing into the exact kind of shit like that they should be because you guys would hate it. So yeah, you hate them. Hate this person, please. It feels like they were begging them to do by doing this. And it's like, it's fantastic. Let's move over real quick. I want to, since we're talking about fan perception, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I want you to guess the rest. He's over. He's moving merchandise. He's not that good in the ring, as the online community would say. Who is it? Oh, and he's on Raw.
Jey Uso.
Okay. He falls into that category, but I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about Karrion Kross.
I figured that's where you were going.
It's funny to me because I constantly have been ridiculed for saying that I think character work trumps in-ring work when you're trying to get someone over. I know it's professional wrestling, and we love the wrestling part, but if you want to get someone over, the in-ring stuff doesn't really work for everybody. It just doesn't, because a lot of people can do a lot of the stuff that everyone else can do. There's very few people that are on a tier that no one can touch.
What did we say about Ricochet before?
Yes. Like, I think he would have been lost in the shuffle had he not stood out as being like this really good geek. Like, he is a geek in AEW, but it's the kind of geek you want to root against, and it works.
Right.
With Karrion Kross, he's had one match in 3 months on television. If I'm just
it's AJ, yeah.
And people have been praising him and praising him and praising him. Before that, they weren't praising him.
Nope.
I don't like because he was getting opportunities. And I was saying this last week about Karrion Kross. He's been given opportunities, and none of them have really worked out for him. And I'm not saying I hate them or that I thought they were bad. I just think they just didn't work. They didn't click the way they needed to click. Like, what he's doing now is clicking. He's had one match. And he was #1 merch person last week.
Is that not insane?
That's character work. And
right.
I'm curious how fast it's going to be, because when he wasn't getting the opportunity, when the opportunity stopped coming and the pushes wasn't there, that's when everyone was like, Karrion Kross deserves better. But when he was getting opportunities, it was, well, he's not that good in the ring. I've seen I saw many people say that. And then also,
absolutely,
he's not getting opportunities. He's not being booked right. Blah 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 blah. And now he's not wrestling. He's just doing really good character work. And now everyone's like, yo, he deserves everything. What?
Right.
That in itself, what I just explained, whether it was too long for you or not, I don't know. You like long storylines, you should be able to follow that 45-minute long thing I just explained. That shows how hypocritical the fan base online is. I'm happy for Karrion Kross that's starting to pick up momentum for him. I hope that it doesn't stall out once he starts having to get in that ring every week. I really hope so. We'll see. I want to know what you think. We talked about. Oh, go ahead. We'll go ahead real quick, and then I'll ask you a question about him.
I think you bring up a point. And I think this is the conundrum that we have with everyone. I think that there's always a push to use somebody who's not being used to their full potential. Then they're used, they reach some semblance of that potential, and everybody's like, oh, well, why is this guy being featured when yada, 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 who's 10 times better the wrestler, isn't being featured on TV? I think Kross is always going to fall into that category. I think he's going to be an over character. And I think that people are going to be dismissive of his ring work, which, by the way, his ring work is not bad. And I can say that as being a Killer Kross fan from TNA. He put on really, really good matches. He's not Will Ospreay, so that means he's not a good wrestler in wrestling fans' minds. In those wrestling marks' minds. He's not Will Ospreay, so he's not good. That's the way people, kind of look. I think Kross is a great character. I think the character lends itself well to WWE television, and I think that he could be a main event player given the right opportunities.
I think he has. We're talking about with Jey Uso hitting the stride at the exact moment. I think that's going to have to work for Kross. I loved his. I saw some of his Killer Kross from before. I'm not going to say I was a massive fan before I saw him in NXT. It just wouldn't be the truth. But I did go back and watch some of it because I really enjoyed his stuff in NXT. I haven't seen any of that in WWE yet, and I think that's the problem.
I agree.
I've seen as to why I don't think it's clicking. I've mentioned this before with finishing moves. I think they need to be something that's like, bam, bam, you could just knock out of the park. And he did this one crazy one. He's like, yeah, I'm already checked out. You're not even halfway through with it. Stuff like that. As little as it is, it matters. I really hope something clicks with it. The AJ match was good. I'm not going to take that away from it. It was a good match. And we don't need to. even convince people how great his promo stuffs have been. It's been fantastic. The character is great. I don't know where they go with him, like where he can go though. I don't. I'm pretty clueless on it, because I've seen them try so many times at this point. I'm like, okay, well, where can he realistically go from here? I don't know. I hope the best for him, as Harry here says. Kross wrestled. Oh, he wrestled on Main Event, but that's not even on TV. Isn't that just like on the network? I don't even know. I've never.
I believe so. I believe so.
But right here, where is it at? Ever since Harry says, ever since my interaction with Kross, I've been supporting him. Same. I went and saw him in Nashville. It was him and Scarlett Bordeaux, and he's genuinely the nicest wrestler I've ever met. Like, hands down. Like, he's an intense guy, and you could tell that he gives a shit what you're saying to him. He's listening to every word, and he's having a conversation with you and not just at you to get you on so the next person in line can come up and he can get his money. Like, he's a genuine person, and I've been wanting him to succeed ever since then. Like, I liked him, and I loved him. And I'm like, please, work.
Right.
I don't know where I just don't know for him. I could just hope at this point. I don't know where you're at with it. That was just where I'm at with it.
No, I agree. I think that there's a lot of potential, and I think that he's going to have to meet some of that potential in order for him to maintain where he is on the show. I think that perception's reality, right? And I think that if you're perceived as a star, you are a star. Yeah, I think that you have to keep that perception up. And I think that's what's going to be difficult and it's not just on Kross, by the way. I think it's difficult for WWE to write for that kind of a character, to keep him interesting enough and to give him the right wins and losses to make him still seem like a viable threat while, doing this whole character thing. And
so, quick question. I'll cut in here real quick. Because this isn't typically how WWE does things, but with everything you've seen this guy do on his own to get himself over, would you kind of take a step back like you did with Bray Wyatt and say, hey, we can't really write for you. Show us what you got.
Yes.
And basically say, like, this is your last opportunity. If this doesn't work at this point, it's in your hands. And we're just kind of letting you have the reins. They'll step in if they think if he's got that Hulk Hogan mentality, he's like, I'm gonna squash everyone, brother, which I don't think would be the case, but step in and stop that stuff. Or, hey, this is a little too far, let's kind of dial it back a little bit. But at the core of it being like, you're creating the bullet points here for this to work, have at it. Would you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kross is smart enough for him to not just go and say, hey, okay, you want me to write my own stuff? Great. So here's my first story. I go to SmackDown. I beat Cena for the belt. You know what I mean? Like, that's not who Kross is. I think he's smart enough to understand.
Yeah. I don't think he's that guy. I just don't.
Right. I think he's smart enough to understand that, okay, hey, they've started this whole thing with a guy like Sami Zayn. Now, there's a perfect jumping off point. Yes, Sami Zayn is a main eventer, but Sami Zayn is also the kind of a person that can drop down a couple of notches on a guy who's
level guy.
Right. He can go anywhere and he can be a viable contender. Right. And I think that's the perfect, like, a guy like him is a perfect jumping off point for Kross. If he can get over on the mic and he can have a good match with somebody and he can maintain that momentum, I think there's a countless number of people that I would love to see him work with that I think would, if he has the proper support. Like, if a guy like CM Punk likes him, imagine the two of them in a promo battle. I just, there's a lot of things that Kross, there's a lot of positives there. It's just maintaining that momentum, because you can see, like, somebody like Braun Strowman, a lot of positives in a guy like Braun Strowman. He's big, he's strong. Same thing as we just mentioned with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You can actually slot him anywhere on the card, and he's an attraction, and he's somebody that's going to get you, views, and he's going to get you, people excited. But they couldn't find something for him on the roster, and now they've released him. That's my fear with Kross, that he is that same kind of a character where you can slot him anywhere, where he's got better on the mic than Strowman, and probably better in the ring than Braun. But Braun has an intangible. I think Kross has an intangible with his gift of gab. I think that's where they are similar. And I think that sometimes when you have, like, that certain specific intangible, it's hard to find you a spot all the time. And I think that Kross has got to really bust his ass to earn it.
I'll say one thing that I think potentially help him get as far as the in-ring and presentation and stuff. Give him his entrance back. Like,
yes.
What are we doing? Like, we just saw Aleister Black return after 4 years and he got his entrance back right away. Imagine if he showed up and he didn't have his entrance. It would be stupid. Like, give Kross his entrance back.
I feel like someone said recently they did.
Okay.
I hope so.
Maybe I'll have to go check out Main Event to see what's happening with it.
Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Dragon Lee a few weeks ago on Main Event and lost. I didn't know about Taylor Bate, but I'm glad he beat Tyler Bate because I was pretty peeved when he lost to Dragon Lee. Not gonna lie. I hope I hope the best for him. I think he could be a main event guy with just how talented he is with everything but the in-ring work. And that's not to say he sucks in ring. I'm just saying like that's where he stands out. And Harry here says let him wreck talent too. Yes.
Yeah.
He's been mentioning the killer inside him recently. Have him be a brutal son of a bee.
What, you mean the way that they booked him in NXT?
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Well, such a foreign idea, right?
It worked to Triple H. Wasn't that like the last champion Triple H had before like he left NXT? Like he had like, come on, man, book your boy right. Come on, man.
I know.
Let's move on. So, I wanted to talk about this too because on SmackDown, even though it was at the hands of Chelsea Green, we saw the return of Alexa Bliss. So that's the second return we've seen of her from this year. First question: do you think this one sticks?
Yeah, I think that they finally know what they're doing with her. I think that they did that backstage segment with Charlotte, so I feel like that's where they're going to do something there, which is great because, hey, look, it seems like a non-title sort of a situation for two top talents.
Oh man, that'd be great. Second question for you: do you think she has distanced herself from the Wyatt Six at this point?
For now, yes.
You don't think that's finished entirely, though?
I think that everything is back on the table when Bo is healthy. And I when I say everything is back on the table, I mean everything as creative for them, but also they might not be here much longer if this doesn't, kind of work this time. I feel like there was a sense that it worked initially. Everybody was a little upset that Gable was their first, target. But I think after that, slowly they settled into that whole feud with Kross, which I think got them over to another level. There's Kross again, elevating somebody else.
Yeah.
And then just Bo getting hurt and them disappearing, I think really just hurt their momentum. So I think everything's on the table. I think that Alexa could be that character that gets them back to where they need to be in order to being a viable threat. But if it doesn't work, they're all gone and she's going to just go off and do whatever she can because, she's obviously the star out of that group.
Yeah. I'll say I don't think she's done with them. Unfortunately, I wish she was because, again, I think the Wyatt Six thing already jumped the shark, as they say. I don't think it has much legs left on it. And I would hate for Alexa Bliss to finally come back and then get dragged down by this thing that just comes and goes so sporadically. We don't ever know when it's happening. And then they're there for like a month and then they're gone again. Like Alexa Bliss is way too talented and the women's division on SmackDown needs her at this point.
Yes, they do.
For her to be stuck in something like that. And you brought up the Charlotte thing. I do think that, to me, that signals that for at least now, she's definitely not part of the Wyatt Six, which is good. I think Lou says she still uses Sister Abigail, so I think she's affiliated. That's true, but also I think it also could just be in honor of Bray because she and Bray got really close during their thing, and obviously he wasn't there when he passed, so that kind of thing kind of sucks for her. So I think these are just things she does to honor him. And Harry says, I want normal Alexa, and I don't want her to go back. I feel like if anything, give me a new version of her.
Yes.
And she stated many times she wants to do dark stuff. Like she wants to, it's just what she wants to do. So if this is what she wants to do and that's what's going to make her happy, I want her to do this.
Agreed.
Going backwards, though, I don't think helps her. I think that the women's division,
right? She can't be the goddess anymore. Yeah, she can't be the goddess anymore. You know, I mean, look, you can say that there's a point where Becky went back from being from being big time Bex, but I just don't think anybody bought into big time Bex. I think that's what it was, is that she was the man the whole time. I think Alexa going back just shows that there's no growth there. I think that there's a really good chance we see Alexa in this, you know, like she's going to be like in this world title contention. I think that her and Tiffany is a great match. I think she's a natural good opponent for her.
Her and Alexa and Zelina feud is great.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So that leads me to my next question. You kind of jumped the shark on that one. Where do you think Alexa's ceiling? That's the theme of tonight's show, is ceilings. What do you think Alexa's ceiling is?
I think that there's still a very good chance that Alexa Bliss can once again be women's champion. I know that a lot of people probably don't believe that that's the case because they're in such a youth movement right now, calling up Julia and Roxanne. You can see that, you know, like the championships are on Tiffany, and, you know, okay, yeah, Io maybe has been in, you know, in the WWE for a while, but she's been on the main roster for like 5 years. You know, it's like they're building up these younger talents, and I think a lot of people are like, well, I guess that kind of hurts Alexa, except for the fact that Alexa is looked at as at that same level as the 4 horsewomen. And I think there's always a threat that she can be in world title contention and win a championship.
And Harry says, main event for Alexa. He wants to make sure that we understand that that's the main event scene and not the show. Yeah, I got what you said, Harry. Like if you were clamoring for Alexa Bliss to be on the main event show, yeah, no bueno, man, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Alexa being the world title scene. Again, she's been gone for so long. She's fresh at this point. And I don't think she gets enough love for the fact that when the 4 horsemen came up, it was all about them. And somehow, some way, Alexa Bliss found her role in that and shined. Like,
not only did she find her role, there was a point that for a full calendar year, Alexa Bliss was in a pay-per-view match for 12 months straight, either defending or challenging for the women's championship.
She was the most over woman on the roster.
Female. Yes. Yeah. By far.
Yeah.
By far.
And she, again, she didn't have that group with her to kind of help, you know, motivate and push her and, you know, stand behind each other like the other ones did. Not to say that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think that's very impressive that Alexa Bliss was able to do that. We've said before, I think that Carmella was another one that did it, but Alexa Bliss was just on a whole other level. It was crazy, like, that she was able to do what she was doing by herself. So I wouldn't be mad if she was in the main event scene. I think there's a lot of fresh feuds you could do with her because she's been gone for so long, and the women's division is completely different since she's been gone.
It really is.
There's a lot. I don't think that she gets that far. I think she's a great one to put one of the Intercontinental United States titles on, because when she can't wrestle, she can still do segments and cut promos. She's really good at that. So it's one of those things where when you can't have her in a match, you can still have that title on the card being involved in something, and it puts spotlight and makes that title mean a little bit more. Like, okay, you got that title, you're on the TV, you're doing stuff with it. And I think that would be a great role for her at this point. I brought her up, and Harry says, I miss Carla. Me too, brother.
We both.
Mello was
all three of us.
I miss money. My goodness, that one hurt my feelings when it happened.
Yeah, I agree.
So, fourth question. I think it's the fourth question, and the final question on this before we say our goodbyes. Do you think the Alexa Bliss Charlotte thing is very intriguing to me because I have no idea what they're doing with it.
Same.
No clue. Like,
same.
I was like, wait, what? And I love it when that kind of thing happens because it could be complete garbage or it could be magic. And I don't know.
Right.
I'm just along for the ride, baby. What do you think the possibility of this becoming a tag team is?
A 50-50, right? I think that there's a good chance. Look,
what a cop out.
Look, all right, fine. How's this? I'll say 70. I'll say 70-30 that it is.
Okay.
And the reason why I think so is that we're seeing that they're trying to elevate those tag titles. Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, I think that, you're going to put them on major stars. You have to have major challengers. I think we've noticed, and look, it is what it is. I don't want to get into this whole thing now, but we've seen with the talent that WWE just recently released that they don't seem to have long-term investment into real women's tag teams that they've tried to establish. So that means that the women's tag team titles are going to be we have to think of this as they're the third world title. And it's like, okay, if they can't put a world title on you because the two singles titles are taken and you're a step above that intercontinental United States level, we're going to just put you in the tag division. And I think that's what they're doing. And I think that's why we're going to see Alexa and Charlotte kind of tag up, because where do either of them go right now? Charlotte just lost to Tiffany. I think that you can very much put them together to try to go after Tiffany, and after Alexa loses and Charlotte gets even more pissed off, then okay, they move into the tag team, title division. I think that we've seen right now that SmackDown has kind of like 4 women that they're really kind of trying to push to the forefront of that tag team division.
Yeah,
and Bianca Belair is
trying to help it.
Yeah, and Bianca Belair hasn't been there, so it's interesting.
Yeah,
I think they inevitably end up a tag team.
I didn't think about that. Has she not even been? Like, she was in a match though recently, wasn't she? Was in a tag team match. The last thing I remember was that when after WrestleMania, I know she lost. Tiffany?
Maybe no. I think it was Jade.
Let me look this up. It was Jade. What is going on with Bianca?
The last I remember, Bianca had said like, "Hey, by the way, I have some unfinished business with Naomi," and then she disappeared from television.
Look this up real quick, because now you've got me.
It's interesting.
Man, what did it just do that for? It went to the wrong thing. Bianca Belair matches. There we go.
Harry said Bianca's injured.
I'm looking that up too. See, I don't know this stuff anymore, so it's hard for me to keep.
Well, I didn't know this either. I had no idea.
Bianca Belair suffered a finger injury during the triple threat match. She had broken a couple fingers.
Okay.
Wrap them things up. Get in there, baby. That's fine. That's fine, because the women's division is building while she's gone, which is awesome. Because I didn't think that would be possible. Right. I think Bianca's that damn good. But so that's good. That's really good. I'll say if
anybody deserves some time off, it's Bianca Belair.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll say you're 70-30 that they are leaning towards tag team. I'm going to go ahead and say 80-20 that they're not. And
I like that.
Hope than anything, because I would just like to see Alexa Bliss beat the dog off of Charlotte Flair. Just beat the brakes off her. All gas, no brakes, as my man Jacob Fatu would say.
It's going to be interesting to see how they book Charlotte going forward. Yeah, she's now just become, she's become like more divisive than she's ever been.
When was the last time I was interested in Charlotte Flair? I don't even know. So this is good news. Thank you, Alexa Bliss. She's awesome. So with that, that's the show, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the ones that showed up yesterday and today. I apologize for that. I wish I could keep y'all in touch a little bit more with that. But hey, follow me on Instagram, and I'll get you a little bit better on that. We'll be back.
I'll try to post, and I'll try to post a little bit more about it too.
If it happens, it happens. If not, y'all seem to be showing up anyway, and that's awesome. I much appreciate it. We'll be back next Wednesday, right. Not Thursday. We'll make sure that happens. I have nothing interfering at that point. It's my only day off next week, so it works out perfectly. And we'll probably talk about Saturday night main events, since that's Saturday, and maybe some other things. I might slip in some AW, just the major stuff, the stuff that I know that you've seen enough of to comment.
Sure. Yeah. So, let's do it.
Courtney says, awesome show. Thank you, Courtney. As always, much appreciated. OG fan. I really appreciate Courtney. And Harry says, Charlotte wins Money in the Bank. She should be the first. Bro, if Charlotte wins Money in the Bank, I'm going to go steal that briefcase from her myself.
Now I've never wanted to see Charlotte win it more.
Yeah. I'll have it on the show. I'll bring it on the
show. Exactly my point. Come on. How great would that be for us?
Who am I cashing the Money in the Bank on? Jey Uso. That's what I'm cashing in on. Screw that.
Ooh, not even John Cena. I would have cashed in on Cena.
Heck no, I'm not touching John Cena. I can't even see the dude. That'd be crazy to try and cash in on him. And I'm not cashing on Jacob. I'm not cashing on Dom.
Well, we knew that was coming.
Man, who would I don't know who I'd cash in on. It would have to be Jey Uso just by default at this point. Even though I was just praising the dude last week, I'm like, nah.
It's John Cena by a long shot.
My goodness, you're gonna get Triple A through the table off the top rope, man. You saw he did the R-Truth. What do you think he's gonna do to you?
I know. What a miserable person to do that to somebody as amazing as R-Truth. I told you he was bad news from the start.
Harry said he'd cash in on Dom, and I'm just there to let you know I would be there to rip that briefcase from your hands while you're trying to turn it in, and it wouldn't happen, and boom, it would just never happen.
I mean, Harry, why would you cash in when you knew you were going to lose?
Yeah, that'd be silly. Silly.
Yeah.
And real quick, I'm just putting it up there. He's so sick of Charlotte. Yes, sir. But again, if it's new and interesting and not involving a title, I'm willing to give it a try. But yes, Saturday Night Main Event, that's on the plate for next week's show, and then whatever else pops up. If y'all want us to talk about something, y'all know the deal. Put it in the chat, and we'll just
right.
So with that said, see you all next week, and thank you. Not I mean, I gotta learn how to do that.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, he stole it from me. I can't do it no more.